Assassin's Creed Valhalla is launching soon, and I felt that now was a really good time to go and have a look at Odyssey and see where it made a lot of mistakes, because a lot of people are already calling it a reskin. It's pretty much the same game in a Viking setting. Plenty of people, myself included, will often refer to Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft games in general as all being pretty much the same, and that can be said of a lot of open world games in this day and age. What I want to do is actually do a bit of a demonstration as to why that is. So instead of just saying the same old things, using a lot of buzzwords and saying, yeah, Ubisoft this, Ubisoft suck, that's pretty much it, I want to do a proper showing as to why. I enjoy mainly listening to videos on YouTube, so you're still going to be able to just listen along to this. It's all hopefully going to make a lot of sense. But if you want to watch some of it, that might just add a bit more context, and it will help me along the way as well, pinpoint exactly as to why these games are the same, what the problems are, and also how we can fix them going forward. And I hope that in the future these games start to do a bit more of the things that I personally enjoy, and hopefully a lot of people personally enjoy as well. So let's see how we go. It's my first time trying something like this, and let's get into it. Hi, Estelden here. So I got into Odyssey a little while ago, pretty much because I wanted to give some genuine thoughts on what's going on with the franchise going forward. I fell out of love and actually stopped playing this series back around Unity, Syndicate, kind of that era. I felt that for a while those games had just completely stagnated. Ubisoft were probably at the very worst I'd seen them in a long time. And the same goes for Far Cry. I felt Far Cry 3 was alright. Far Cry 4 was when it was just looking really repetitive, and looking at Far Cry Primal, looking at what they did with the map where it was exactly the same, I know all that stuff was going around back then, that's where I felt they were really going off the rails and it wasn't looking good. But I wanted to get back into this series to give it a fair take, a fresh set of eyes, so I've gone in pretty neutral, and I've enjoyed some parts of it, so this isn't going to be like a rant just going on here, but this sucks, that sucks. I want to pinpoint, as I said, exactly as to why. And I think that neutral perspective of going back in, going in fresh, will hopefully do a bit of that. So the first thing I want to show you is the open world style of things. So the first thing I noticed with Odyssey after I did a couple of areas is this game is pretty fucking big. So you can see with the map, it's huge. There's multiple islands. It goes on forever. There is so much here, and I think I'm going to be here until, Jesus Christ, whatever's going on in the world right now might actually be over by the time I actually get through all of this. So there's a lot here, and as you can see, it's all kind of gated off by levels. It tells you the levels, sort of, I guess, like, for example, there's an area here, it's level 42 to 48, so that's obviously a bit of an endgame zone, whereas where I am now, about level 11 to level 13. As far as I can tell, that's what it represents. One thing I've noticed, and this goes from the very first area that you venture into all the way to where I am now, is everything is the exact same gameplay loop. So I haven't really run into anything that really took me off guard, anything exciting that's been really memorable for me, apart from maybe actual tutorial events. So there was a battle that went on quite recently in my playthrough, but that was very much scripted. It was part of the storyline. And I think it just showed you, yep, you're going to get a lot more of this. So we did like a big battle. I'm sure on every single one of these big continent type things, there's going to be a battle of the same nature. So the theme I'm kind of getting, and it's been a theme in open world games for a long time, is once you've done one thing, you've seen it all, basically. And that's kind of the ongoing theme. So what I want to show you first, however, is why it's all the same. So why is this not different? Because when I look at the game itself, and I look at what the art team's done and everything that they've kind of pulled off, it looks absolutely fantastic. I'm never going to argue that. Games in 2020, of course, they look far better than they did 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But I think that the gameplay loops have actually stagnated a bit, and they've actually gotten a lot more simple than they used to be in some cases. To give you an example of this, there is so much going on here. There's so much I can technically explore, and running around here, I'm probably crossing like, for example, if I crossed from this side of the island all the way to the other side of the island and just walked and didn't get on my horse, that would probably take a fair chunk of time. What would I actually find along the way if I just did that? If I ignored my map that you can see up here, and I am playing on Explorer mode, so apparently that means I'm not getting like the quest maps and the objectives. I thought it would be a really old school kind of experience if I did that, but it was still quite handholdy to some degree. I think there's some cool things, like you can see in the top left corner, and I'm going to read this out for anyone who's just listening, but I've got a quest objective in the top left corner, and it gives me kind of clues as to where to go. So instead of just a quest minimap telling me exactly where my objective is, it instead says I've got to find Gaiken Captain Gillon's ship, if I'm saying that right. It's the Shark's Tooth. So I'm looking for a ship. Instead of just having it marked on a map, it instead says they are east of Bullis military camp, and they are treasure hunting in the cove. So they're the people who've taken the ship. That's a nice touch. I'll say that's one of the bigger positives of the game. But where the actual exploration, aside from that, falls apart for me is, and I'm going to show you on the map first, where it falls apart is there's these question marks, and they were a big part of Witcher 3 as well. So there's a lot of things in this game that are pretty much taken from The Witcher 3. It really looks like to me that Ubisoft, and I would say the suits up top, so probably not the people designing the game, but the guys who are the money man, and they were like, right, Witcher 3 sold really well. Assassin's Creed's got some similarities. What can we take from the game and just plug into this franchise that's stagnated and people are getting sick of it to do the same thing? So they've got the question marks around the map, a lot of similar things there. And the problem is, the question marks are the only actual interesting or even worthwhile things to actually look at. And that's a problem, because there's a lot of empty spaces on the map like this. And I'm a fan of empty space. I don't think everything should be like an amusement park, because I find Bethesda games have kind of gone down that road, where there's something every 2 minutes and it gets a bit too much. But the issue in Assassin's Creed Odyssey is that there's just too little aside from these big areas, and they're marked on the map. So like, this is the farmhouse, then you've got the Tower of Delphi or whatever that is, and then you've got these towers or these strongholds, you could call them, and they're pretty much it. So to show a live example, a demonstration as I called it, I'm going to get on my horse, and then I'm going to pick one of these locations to go and have a look at. So I'm going to pick something reasonably close, but not too close. So let's just pretend that I haven't actually found this synchronized location or whatever it is. So the bird. And I'm going to go over there. So I'm going to ride on my horse over there, and it's 400 meters away, and this looks like it might be the most efficient way. So on my way there, I'm going to have a good look around, because this is a world we're in. This game's not only been advertised, but it's also been presented to us as this is an open world to explore and enjoy. So where is the open world element really helping us here? Let's have a look. So far it's just gorgeous trees, gorgeous fields, gorgeous skybox, everything there. And what am I finding? So far I've found a shrub, oh no, it's a mineral, so we found some iron metal. And we've got what looks like the town next to us, is that right? So it's one of the strongholds, that's something else on the map. So we could go and explore that. But what I'm seeing just from the general world itself is I'm not really seeing anything. And this is a pattern everywhere. There's nothing interesting at all in the monuments and the places of interest that they've already marked on your map. Everything else is just empty. As I said as well, and like you're probably thinking, some emptiness is fine, but when you've got a game as big as Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and this is pretty much the whole loop, you're just going to location after location, they're marked on the map, we know that they're special, there's nothing kind of surprising going on, that becomes a very repetitive, very gamey loop, because I know that there is absolutely nothing efficient, nothing interesting about exploring any of this. I'm going to find, like, generic things on the ground, like the iron metal, but, and that is something I'm going to go into later, it's just not interesting. There's no reason for me to explore any of it. And I can see, again, how gorgeous and the endless possibilities that look open to me over here. But it's not, there's nothing special about any of it, because it's all just question marks on the map. They're not interesting to me. They're not exciting. And what I want to say is, when you've been playing video games for quite a long time, you start to see those same things over and over again, and you see the tricks, you see the smoke and mirrors, and it can get old really fast. And I don't think game developers have really tried at all to make any of this stuff slightly more exciting. To give you a really, I suppose, like a clear example of what I'm thinking of, Pokemon Go. So Pokemon Go is a game that I think a lot of people who are more into gaming think is stupid and they don't like it. And then there's a group of people who are more casual, don't really play many video games. Those people generally really love it if they got into it. That side of the audience, at least. So why is that? And I want to say that there's plenty of gamers who probably do like it. That's completely fine. They'll have their own reasons, but I'm talking more in a broad, general kind of criteria, I suppose. The reason that it's so mixed, and why those sides of the fence are how they are, is because the people who've been gaming for a long time, and they might have played Pokemon for years, and they come across Pokemon Go, they see through what it is and the gameplay loop of it extremely quickly. And for that reason, it's not fun for them anymore. What that loop is the game's presented that you're going to go around outside your house, walk around, and you're going to find all of these Pokemon everywhere. And people who aren't really into games start thinking of like infinite possibilities. So they think they're going to find like a Pokemon in the letterbox. They're going to look at like let's say like a hay stack or something, and they're going to find the Pokemon in there. Oh, it's hiding in the haystack. How awesome. There's the swamp. Is it underwater? Where is it? That's the sort of infinite possibilities they're thinking in their head. But if you've played games for quite a long time, you know that's not going to be the case. You know that the company behind it is probably just using GPS coordinates, something like Google Maps, and they're just automatically using an algorithm to put Pokemon in certain places. So there's no hand design around that. And if you have that mindset, which you've probably developed from playing these video games for so long, it's going to get old really fast. But for someone who's not used to them and has that imagination, they still believe in Santa, it's that kind of thing. That's the way they're looking at it, and that's the way they kind of see it. So I think that a lot of people go into Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and at least for me, that's how I kind of look at it, the same sort of way. To just go back to that example for a second, I think it's very similar to like, if you play a musical instrument, let's say if you play guitar, or you play bass guitar, or you play the drums, whatever, and you learn a song that you really liked, and you really enjoyed that song, it was one you loved to listen to, now you learn to play it. From my experience, myself doing that kind of thing, I find that when you learn the song, you no longer want to really listen to it anymore, because the magic is kind of gone. And that is happening in a lot of video games where they've been doing the same thing for so long, the magic's gone because you've done it so many times that you just get sick of it because it's so repetitive. You know what's happening before you even get there, just as we are in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because you do one continent, you've done all of them, it's going to be the exact same gameplay loop. And I want to mention as well, I still like this, even though I know the gameplay loop, it's still kind of fun to me in some ways, but it's not as fun as it could be. We're not getting the most out of this franchise. We're not getting the most out of gaming when this is the best that I can say that they're coming up with. Now that we've established the open world side, which feels pointless to me, it just feels like a lobby system. So I'm coming in there. I know that there's going to be absolutely nothing to find. The only thing even worth looking at are these landmarks. So we can take pretty much a lot of the world out of it. All I'm doing, all this serves, or the only purpose it serves, I should say, is traveling there. You go on your horse and you travel there. And if I counted the playtime of me just riding on a horse to another destination, it probably adds up. When we look at the whole map and traveling everywhere by horse to every possible location, if I want to 100% everything that goes on in this game, we're probably looking at quite a number of hours of just riding on the horse doing absolutely nothing. I might see some awesome scenery, and I might see some cool things along the way, but that's about it. And I'm looking this purely from a gameplay standpoint. So people who love the art, I do sometimes as well, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the gameplay side of it. So what I want to do next, because this is, I would say, equally as important, is we now look at the content side of this game and what we're actually doing when we're traveling around. So I'm going to try and go somewhere nice and quick so I can show you very quickly. There was a place I think I saw on the way. We'll try this one at least. It's a little bit away, so you'll get another good example of just finding absolutely nothing in your journey. Nothing at least of consequence. Where I think they could start to improve things is if I just knew there was a chance, just some chance that I could stumble upon like a group of maybe dead bandits just around somewhere, and there's a chance a hand-placed item or a hand-placed weapon there could be incredible. It's not just level scaled specifically to my level, which is about 11 at the moment. I want to have that feeling that I can find the Tats Lotto ticket somewhere. I can find something genuinely awesome. I don't want to feel like the game's moving around me, if that makes sense. If the game feels like it's just trying to change based on what I'm doing, so I'm level 11, everything I'm going to find is going to be level 11 stuff, that feels boring. I never feel like something can be dangerous, or I feel like I can just absolutely smash everything like a group of level 3 wolves or something. It's kind of it's that thing. When it's designed around me and what I'm doing, it doesn't feel real at all. So here's one of the many outposts in the game. It's quite generic. There's nothing, even though these all have unique names, they don't really need to. You could call it Outpost 1, Outpost 2, Outpost 3, and nothing would change at all. It's not actually adding to my immersion that they're putting these names in, because they don't serve a purpose. If there was a purpose behind what was going on here, then it might be a different story. For example, if in town they were talking about this place, and here's the town, it's Pilgrim's Landing, and, or is it? Oh, it's Cura, apparently, yeah, this is the area name, but they've just planted this on top of it. Alright then. So if they were talking about this place in town, like, oh, it's really dangerous, and I went there first, and it was like, there was level 30s or 40s there, oh shit, this place actually is dangerous, so I better come back some other time, then it might stay with me. But I just know it's Outpost 1. The enemies here, if they are going to scale, it's in a very small bracket. It's not going to give me too much of a challenge, so it's not going to be memorable to me at all. Now, coming to this place, and I'm just making sure my camera's not going to block this up. Now, it looks like we can see it. It gives me a small list of objectives. And when I complete these objectives, I'm going to get some more XP. So it keeps disappearing on me, which is actually annoying within the game itself. You've got to keep holding down the damn analog stick to see it again, which is quite tedious. Now, the objectives that you see here, again, this is pretty much all there is, at least so far in the game. So I've cleared a number of these things, and they're almost always exactly the same. Burn the war supplies, loot the treasure, kill the captain. There's some very small variants, and I'm going to show you these as well. If we look at another fort, pretty much the same thing. Kill this guy, kill the captains. Fine, doesn't do anything. It might have some lore information, but the lore in this game's pretty ordinary. It's like a B-movie, the story side of things. That's not what I'm here to talk about, but it's not special enough that finding it's going to really change your game or change your perspective on any of these things. So there's objectives I showed you. They're all around every single one of them. Nothing changes, all the same. Once you've done one, you've done everything. Again, this is the pattern in the whole game. They really just do not mix it up or make anything remotely exciting. That's all there is. The problem with doing this again is you're just making it that addictive kind of gameplay loop, and that seems to be the audience they're trying to target. They don't seem to want to target people who want to get immersed in the game, be excited, potentially run into something really, really dangerous, potentially just be completely wowed at something that's going on. All they want is that you to clear the outpost and then have in your mind, all right, I've cleared that, I want to get on the next one, get the XP. So it's like grind, grind, grind. All right, I'm going to go to the next one, get the XP, level up, awesome, awesome. It's like a side of gaming that's very popular right now, and it seems to be what they want to copy, and they've been trying to copy it for a long time. So why aren't they doing something like this? Instead of coming to this particular outpost and it being the same thing, kill the captain, why can't something really exciting be going on? So I'm going to go in here so we can all get a better look. Let's say there's a tower in here up there. Why can't there be maybe some sort of villager being ready to be executed? And now I've got a choice, because this is advertising itself as an RPG as well. Why can't something like that be going on? She needs to be executed, and maybe I've got a choice. I can choose to now look around the village and start my looting and get some of the things done that I want to, or that are useful to me. I can get those done while everyone's distracted looking at that tower and waiting for the person to be executed. Or I can save the person, get the rewards, but then I'm going to run into a big fight. I might not even be able to survive everything that's going on, because keep in mind, this game's meant to be Assassin's Creed, so it's not meant to be like go around being Rambo Creed and doing everything, and whoops, I nearly aggroed everything there, but instead of something creative and something different every time, it's always exactly the same, and it's not exciting. In fact, it starts to get on your nerves, because you might go to a larger area, and there are much larger ones in this, where rather than kill one captain or burn one supply, you have to kill like 3 captains, burn 4 war supplies. And it starts to get annoying because you get there and go, oh god, I've got to do even more of this. It's all the same stuff. What is the difference between me killing 3 captains and killing 1? Burning 4 war supplies and burning 1. It just starts to be more of the same. And it's not exciting by any stretch. So unless something really... I could be completely wrong here, and maybe the second half of the game, they completely shake things up. Everything changes. I haven't completed the whole game, so perhaps I'm an idiot and shouldn't be analysing it to that degree. But I have a feeling that it's going to be the same. It's not going to change from that. It's just going to be the same stuff going on and on and on. I really worry that if Valhalla's just going to do the same thing, then Assassin's Creed's probably not going to change again for a while. And I don't think a lot of people hold them accountable for this, because they get caught up in the gameplay loop and go, oh, I like getting the XP, I like clearing everything on the map, because then I can look at the map and I can see that I've completed everything, and look, I've 100%ed it, and I got all the trophies, and I got the achievements, wow. Really engaging gameplay to me. That's not something that's unique to the series, because I can do all that in any open world game. If I go and play Horizon, or I go and play other Ubisoft games, if I play like Far Cry, or I play whatever the new Microsoft games are, I'm sure Fable might be around sort of the same vein, it might be quite similar. What is selling me on this series in particular, is it just come out at the right time? Is it in the right place at the right time? Is that it? What's unique about this? Not much. And I think that's where they're falling short. There's so many things they could be doing. They've had years to perfect this, and they're not doing anything with it to make it different. The actual gameplay loop, very, very similar. The next thing is the actual systems. So looking through the menu, because this will pretty much show us everything that we need to know. We've got our quests, and we touched on them. They've made them a bit better. I can accept that. The Explorers mode means that I'm not just following like a quest map mini marker, I should say, the whole time. At least they fixed that. That's something that's been plaguing any open world game pretty much since the mid to late 2000s, and they've only now, it's taken 10 years for them to do anything about it. Around 5 years ago, they were calling it like modern game design, this is innovative game design, and some people were pushing back and saying, this is shit because there's no reason to explore, and I just feel like I'm chasing an arrow and I'm looking at a mini-map instead of this world you've crafted. And now they finally on it and changed it. But we were doing this 10, 15 years ago, when I was playing Morrowind, I was reading like a quest journal, and I had to read where I had to go, and I had to use the clues and everything along my path in the world, so that came back to the exploring once again, because there were so many quests. It was all about looking at where I had to go, and there wasn't just generic tree, generic rock, generic anything. There are a lot more unique monuments on the map that I could look at that they weren't just marked there as being like this outpost, or this temple, or this thing. I'm forgetting. I can't think of these things because they're so generic in the game. You had more reason to do it, and because the world wasn't so unnecessarily large, it gave them more room to put those things in and make me remember where I've gone. For example, like look, this side of the map that I'm exploring, I could go around for fucking hours and not have a clue where I kind of am without looking at the map, because it all just looks the same. It's pretty much how it is. So that's pretty much the quest side of things. It's better. The quests are probably the only thing that get you using the world in any meaningful way. That's about it. But it's not a huge improvement. It's not sort of breaking new ground. We've got the gear system here. The gear system is something that I'm not particularly fond of, and the reason for it is partly the leveling system too. So if I look at like an ammo, or I should say an armor set, and one in particular here, we've got all of the leggings that you can potentially equip. Now, there's all these different stats on them that you can see there. All of these different things that I can potentially read and have a look at. How much of this is meaningful? Very little. Because it's been designed so that anyone can just click on this and not have to think too much, and then they can get back into the game. So they don't want people who've been playing RPGs for a long time and find this stuff interesting to have anything to read that will actually be a consequence. Instead, you just look at one number, the level number. That's at least what I found in my experience. Maybe it changes later. Maybe there's some like much more knowledgeable min-maxer types who've really just gutted this game to death, know everything, know far more than me, I'm sure. But I'm looking at this as just an average player looking to get through the game and then move on. All it is you go, alright, 11, 12. If I'm 12, I click this one. Fantastic. There's never any more complicated aspect to actually choosing what I'm going to wear. If you find two things the same level, that's where it might be a little bit different, where you can go, right, which one do I pick? What's more suitable for my character? But in my experience, you just level far too fast for that to actually make any sort of difference. And this is logical, but perhaps later on, maybe like level 30, level 40, maybe there is a bit more of a difference because it takes longer to level up. But at least so far, there's been no point. And it's again like upgrading the weapons. I mean, I can go and upgrade them at a blacksmith. That's an option. But what's the point if within another 10 minutes, I'm just going to level up and have another piece to equip? It's just going to be like, it's going to feel like a waste of time. Like I haven't been efficiently moving through the game because I could have gained a level in the time it took me to go back to the blacksmith and fuck around in menus. The abilities. This is another gameplay feature, and it's fairly new to Assassin's Creed in the grand scheme. They didn't have things like this for a long time. They certainly weren't calling it an RPG. It was just like an action-adventure, platformy kind of thing. The problem I have with the abilities, and if they follow this into Valhalla, it's going to be a bit stupid, is they time gate all of the abilities. So you've got these choices to make when you get a new ability point, and I don't really get to choose as much as I would like to, because look at this, I can't pick the next one until level 16. That's probably going to be a few hours away. I need to progress further in the story. Why? Is it so they can show me like a tutorial? Is it because I'll be too OP or something? I don't really understand why. Ubisoft have had a habit of not wanting to hit you with all the tutorial stuff at once, thinking it makes it better to stretch it out so that you're getting more gameplay, you're not just bogged down by stuff forever. But I actually find it possibly more annoying in a way because you don't feel like you're getting into the game and you're getting into the grand scheme of things until hours and hours into the game, and probably at the point where you're getting kind of sick of it. And I'm still learning new things. These new things are rarely anything groundbreaking. It's just like a small, tiny thing you've got to do. Like in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I remember that you could scuba dive down, is that the word? Scuba dive down to ships and things like that. And they made it something later on where you had to do a whole tutorial and it took forever. And this was like 20 hours or something into the game, it felt like. And I don't need a tutorial for that. You can just put me in there as a normal gameplay feature. Like, have the side quests open to me so I can go and do those things. You don't need to like lock all this stuff off until you've given me the introduction. It just makes me feel like an idiot. And maybe I'm an idiot just for playing the game. And that's sort of the joke there. But I don't see why they need to give you an RPG system like this. And I've just gone out of it for some reason. That's stupid. But I don't see why they need to time gate all of these abilities. Just let me pick. If it's an RPG, let me make choices. That's the whole point. And then you've got like the ship stuff, and I hadn't even looked at this screen, so I had absolutely no interest in this stuff. And I found I've got all these options. I haven't even looked at them. You can upgrade your ship. You can do all that. I don't know necessarily why they need to make Assassin's Creed like a jack of all trades. I don't think it helps the series. I don't think it makes it more fun. And some people might disagree. They might like having everything in one game, but I think it just means they can never excel at anything. In the first Assassin's Creed ever, back in 2006, 2007, whenever it was, it really did feel like you were an assassin. And it really had a point of difference to the game. It felt like Hitman, but with its own spin. That kind of made it unique. And they never went back to that. They moved really far away from it, and it's just been really samey with other games. It hasn't had a unique identity. So that's pretty much the road they've gone down, and they're continuing to do it by having all this pirate stuff. And they're making their own pirate game, Skull and Bones. It might incorporate some of these things too. But if they're doing that, why do they still need to have all these things in Assassin's Creed? Haven't had any fun, and I didn't want to kind of show this in the demonstration, but you've got all this open water as well, which is part of the gameplay, and from experience so far in just this very small bit of water, it's just been another chore having to... What's the word? Do I swim? No, I've got to row the boat, essentially, or just press X, and you go into a travel speed, and you very, very slowly go to the next island. It just wastes more of your time. We've got the fast traveling now, but to unlock all of these tiny islands, I know I'm going to have to manually go over there, and it's going to take forever, and it's just going to be more... It's like if you did the taxis in GTA, but you didn't have the option to skip everything. So you had to just sit in the taxi and go through the whole thing. Maybe some people like it, but I think most people would be using the skip button. There's no skip button in this. I have to go there. And there's ships that'll stop you in the way, but it's not really fun just doing a ship battle again and again. It's always the exact same. It's very hard to lose. And I guess I'm not playing on the hardest difficulty, but I also don't find bullet sponge ships to be very fun either. I just want to get into what's meant to be the fun part of the game, and that is just another thing that is in the way. The last thing in the menu is the mercenaries, and I haven't gotten completely into this system yet, but from what I've gathered, it's not kind of built into the game very organically. So it's going to be too hard to show now, but what can happen is if you've got like a high mercenary rank, and you'll have this bar in the top right corner, which will show you how many mercenaries are out to kill you, basically. Problem is they can attack you at any time, which sounds like a good idea. It sounds like that's going to add some variety and make things interesting. Very quickly, though, it does get tedious, because often they'll show up because they're doing almost what you're doing on the map. They're just going from location to location to location. They're not just like scouring the forest looking for you. They're just going to the main locations. So you can be clearing an outpost, and one of those really big outposts that's going to take forever to clear because there's just so many captains to kill. There's so many treasures to loot. So you'll be doing it, and then all of a sudden you'll have like 3 of these mercenaries who are extremely bullet spongy, by the way, so they take an age to kill, and maybe it's just that I'm completely rubbish with the combat system. Again, maybe the min-maxers know exactly what to do and can 2 or 3 hit them and they're dead. But for me, at least, it was taking a while, and it was just dragging on. And when you try to clear a location that's already quite boring to explore, and then you have these mercenaries come in, and they've got huge health pools, they're absolute bullet sponges, you've got to deal with them as well. The whole thing becomes chaos, and clearing one of these outposts can just take forever. It just feels like, because of the level scaling system, that the challenges that I'm presented with are not organic. It's not a matter that I've explored the far reaches of this world, and I've found like the harder content, I've found the fortresses that are much tougher and I need to come back later. It's always like Ubisoft are just following me around. They're basically backseat driving what's going on. They're trying to like throw things at me to make it harder, and that's just, it's not fun in the same way. I want to be seeking out the harder content for most of the time. I don't want to be clearing something out and then having Ubisoft throw something in my face because I'm level 12. I don't want them to be hitting me with a level 14 mob just for the sake of it, because I know it's only come along because Ubisoft have programmed it in there by looking at what I'm doing, essentially. That's how it works. It's not a matter of me exploring the dangerous forest. It's not about me going to the top of this hill and that's where the trolls are or whatever they've got in this game. It just really feels too gamey in a way. And when I'm playing a video game like this particular one, that's where I want to get out of that gameplay loopy thing. That's what I want to play Fortnite for. I want to play Call of Duty, or not. I don't want to play them, but it's particularly why I've come to Assassin's Creed, or something that's a more of a narrative RPG-driven title. And if you want to be an RPG, you need to do RPG things that are actually essential to the genre, and not just tack on role-playing game, a few elements, because some metric somewhere told you that's how you're going to get sales, and that's what it feels like sometimes. So I haven't covered everything here, but this is my first time kind of demonstrating something, so I just wanted to hit the key points. Hopefully I did hit the major ones that are at least for going into Valhalla. I don't think we're going to see the improvements in Valhalla, but if they do a lot of the same things, people might start to get sick of them and see more and more of these patterns, and then demand change going into the next title in the Assassin's Creed series. I think to some degree Ubisoft know that too. Their whole, we're going to change everything, we're going to do all this after Breakpoint, kind of came when Valhalla was probably very, very far in development. So I doubt anything serious was going to change there. I'm sure it was planned as an Odyssey reskin for quite a while. So that's pretty much everything I can show you here. I'm going to keep going with this game. I want to finish it, make sure everything I've said is correct. So if I need to go back and say, hey, sorry guys, I fucked up here. This game turned into like a phenomenal, exciting adventure and I just didn't get far enough. So I'll see what happens. I'll keep persisting and then I'll pick up Valhalla later in the year and maybe do something similar with that and see if anything changes there. So thanks for listening. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. If you thought this was stupid, if you completely disagree, or if my way of looking at it is just full boomer. and maybe I just need to go back to the 90s titles. I've got no fucking idea. So if that's the case, let me know. But if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye for now.